Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Um, we're happy to have everyone here. You could have been anywhere else, like Olumide had mentioned earlier. Someone told me that had an appointment cancelled, flew in this morning, flying out later this evening, just to be here at this event. So thank you very much for coming, and please give yourself a beautiful round of applause. Today, this session will focus on some of the lessons from some of the companies that have done this before. And so join me as I welcome the following distinguished individuals. I'll start off with Kemi Ariyo. She's Director of IT at Airtel. Please, you can do better. Let's keep doing that until she's here. All right, thank you very much. The next panelist is Daniel Eneh. He's the CIO for ECOBank, Nigeria. And then I've got the CIO of MTN Nigeria in person of Soyinka, Shodunke. Thank you for coming, sir. All right, and the last speaker that will join me is no other one but the one that we call the Ajao of data and AI. You know, you hear data and AI leader, but this one is the Ajao of, if you know Ajao, then you know, all right? So welcome with me, Kazeem Tewogbade, co-founder Bluechip, the Ajao of data and AI. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Just test your microphone. You won't be able to use AI to do that now.
Hello.
So just check.
Hello.
All right.
Hello.
I'll give you a minute each to briefly introduce yourself. And I'll start, obviously, with the ladies. As part of our strategy, we want to grow many more people there. So every time we meet women in tech, there's that preference that they get. So, Kemi, brief introduction.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kemi Ariyo. The pressure is much because I'm going first. I'm the director of IT in Airtel. I have worked in the tech space all my life. I'm a techie, and I don't know anything else. I'm sure everybody here shares the same feelings. And Kazeem is our big brother in data, and it's an honor to sit on a panel with him. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel?
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Yeah, my name is Daniel Eneh. I'm the CIO for ECOBank Nigeria. Been in tech space for the past 20 years. Partnering with Bluechip in a very massive way to transform the way we do things currently, with successes already coming in leaps. Thank you for having me.
I'll say show, but I'll put Egbon now. Egbon. All right.
All right. Thanks very much, Tope. And good morning, everyone. And quite impressive to see the large turnout this morning for a conference like this. And congratulations to the Bluechip. Very impressive. My name is Soyinka Shodunke. I'm the CIO for MTN Nigeria. I've had over 20 years experience, not just in Nigeria, but across 5 other African operations, I think doing the same thing. So pleasure to be here this morning with you guys. Thanks so much.
Okay, Kazeem will take his. Hopefully he's doing it by himself, not AI.
Yeah, you bet. I'm going to do it by myself. Okay, thank you, Tope. I don't know where this Abijah came from, but it's okay. It connotes good things. My name is Kazeem Tewogbade. I'm co-founder and chief executive officer of Bluechip. I'm very delighted to see these numbers of people coming out for this great occasion. It's our hope, and we're working towards ensuring that this becomes an annual event, and we hope to expand and make it a bigger annual ritual, year in, year out. Thank you very much.
All right. Now that we know our panelists, we will dive in straight into it. We're looking at lessons from companies that have successfully built out a big data platform. and more importantly, some of the key takeaways are at Bluechip, some of the things that distinguishes us is the fact that we're practitioners. We don't only consult. As a matter of fact, the real consulting side started most recently. We know how to do the doing, right? And so we brought these distinguished individuals here who have done it severally to also share their thoughts so that people that want to venture into it will then know what to do. So I'll start off with MTN Nigeria, which is our CIO show here, who's done it. We've done with him in a few other countries here as well. So there's this talk about big data. Everybody says big data, big data, big data. I think that is important that we also don't assume that everybody really truly understands what it is. What is big data platform?
And thanks very much, Tope. Look, I think for me, the success of any organization, and using an organization like ours, MTN Nigeria, I think the fundamentals are around how we can aggregate data, how we can process data, and how we can make meaningful information out of data. But that didn't just start today. I think that has started right from the inception, where we clearly understood that data had to be the bedrock. How we interpret data had to be the bedrock. So very early on enough, we had started with looking at the history of aggregating data, which we started with relational databases, and then we moved into the era of BI, and today, we're actually doing, big data. Today we process about 90 billion call data records in a day. We have a targeted campaign of about 90 million. Our database size is in the size of about 9 petabytes. So it's huge, it's a monster. It's about probably the biggest you'll find here in Africa. But back to your question in terms of what exactly is big data? And you've seen that evolution coming from relational databases to big data. So big data today is just an aggregation of all these things we've mentioned, where you have your structured data, you have your unstructured data, and you even have your semi-structured data in there. But that's just not enough for big data. It has to have the capacity where you can do real-time analysis, you can do things like artificial intelligence, and it should even start leading you into things like data monetization. So big data has to have that capability, and I very much agree with what Abel said much earlier on. Any organization looking to have big data, you need to consider the 5 Vs. You need to look into the 5 Vs and determine whether you're actually there for you to start embracing big data.
Thank you very much. So I think the numbers, reeling out those numbers from what it looks like at MTN makes it a bit realistic. I typically will say when I speak to other CIOs and executives that, I mean, supporting MTN platform has been huge. It's massive lesson. It's almost the size of maybe 10 banks, all right, locally here, or maybe 10 banks across some of the biggest banks in Africa. And let's go to Kazeem. Kazeem is very, very knowledgeable about these things. So let's look at some of the key layers, what are some of the key components. When I say I have got a big data platform, what will be those key components that I'm considering as part of that platform as a follow-up on what Sho has described? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tope. If you look at the architecture that supports big data evolution, you would really see that we are moving away from a unitary system to a much distributed architecture, where we have to do what is called MPP, which is parallel processing, because the data is quite huge, and you can't just depend on a single server to process the data. So what usually happens is, at the bedrock, which is where you have your servers, it's commonplace to have systems that are distributed. So you have like, hundreds of, nodes in a cluster that are working cooperatively to run a particular workload. In some of the places we've worked, you could see hundreds of, of nodes, all right? And then the nodes, so when you have a big job to run, like, Soyinka just mentioned that you've got about 9 petabytes. Let's say within a year, maybe you've got about, let's say, maybe 2 petabytes. And you want to run maybe summarization, you want to run some, transformation, job. You can't say you want to use one single server to crunch that data. It will go on and on for a very long time. So typically what you do is to have an infrastructure, all right, that is distributed. That 9 petabyte or 2 petabyte is not sitting on a single server or a single storage system. They are actually being, divided across different servers, and each of the servers, when you run anything, each of the servers is taking its own component, summarizing it, and bringing everything together. So most big data solutions, all right, run on distributed architecture. In many cases, you have what's called shared nothing. That is, each of the nodes in the server, in the cluster, are quite independent, all right, and they don't share, data in a way. Now, but, the world is now even evolving to a point that you can share something to simplify the complexity of having so much storage across different servers. Okay, so basically the real groundwork, all right, for having to be able to process petabytes of data, in milliseconds, different type of data, whether it's structured, unstructured, trying to ensure for value and for veracity, is that your base, storage must be such that it is distributed. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kazeem. There's been a bit very technical things, and so we'll go straight to the banking sector, and we have got ECOBank Nigeria represented by Daniel. And so people go on this venture. I want to build a big data platform. I want to build a modern data platform. I want to build this. And then they build, and then a lot of those projects fail. What does success mean? And talking about the most recent projects around building a modern data platform within the bank that helps to then run your management performance. What does success mean? How do you say that, it was successful? If there are particular things you attribute to it.
Okay, thank you very much, Tope. So, for an organization like mine, where I work, success can be, you can speak about success based on real-time analytics, predictiveness, ability to monitor, what's called data monitoring. We used to say data is oil. Today, Abel changed the narrative. Data is no longer oil. Data is much more than oil. So what we have with big data today, if I cast my mind back to a few years back, where somebody waits till the end of the week before you're able to tell the person, sometimes end of the month, before you're able to tell the person that you are failing in your job. Today, the person is monitoring online and is able to say to himself, I'm failing. So there's no argument about when we come to meetings, we're going to fight because we'll present something. Because you already have data in your hands that's able to tell you that between your actual and your budget, you are doing 0%, you are doing 100%, you are doing 60%, and that's success. Success is transparency. People are able to see from where they are. So before, there was a monster called finance. So we are all waiting for finance to tell us what is happening, where we are going. Today, we have been able to remove that monster because big data has demystified that particular function. So the RMs in the banks run with their phone, watching from the big data platform what is happening. You go on a call, the moment the transaction hits your cabal, you see it. So I think that predictiveness and real-time monitoring is success itself. There's nothing better than it. We have had data since I started banking 20 years ago. We continue to have data. But the difference now is that the way data is interpreted has changed thoroughly. So people don't need finance anymore to tell them what's happening because they know what's happening from their tabs, from their computer, from their phone, and all thanks to the partnership with Bluechip to achieve this big data. So I think we are a success story, and for me, that is what success is all about.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we should give Bluechip a round of applause. All right. All right. We'll come to partnerships, picking partners, working with partners, and some of those things. But it would be nice to also speak to Kemi. He's given us examples from the point of view of a financial sector. What will it look like in the telecom sector, and what's the advantage of then owning a big data platform? So I know that there used to be the traditional, Kazeem spoke a lot about it, but now you then have the one that is modern. What's the advantage of owning one, and what does success look like within the telecom sector? Yeah.
For us, telecom sector success is basically how quickly can we use the data to provide consumer insights? How can we monetize our data? How can we do targeted marketing? And that's basically the epitome of success for us. What is the advantage? I don't know how many of us use Amazon here, but I'm an Amazon addict. The advantage of big data is predicting trends. I'm saying this is what based on your current shopping profile, this is what you do. And the same thing, we want to do it in the telecom space. This is your current usage. This is what I believe you should use. And those are the advantages that we see from a telecom perspective, how we're able to predict data, how we're able to improve our operations using the data that we see. Let me give you a practical instance. Let's say, for instance, this particular customer lives in Ikeja. And whenever he's at work, he uses high volume of data. But whenever he's at home, I can tell where he lives, I can tell where he works based on how many hours he spends in this particular location. And with the KYC data that we also have, we can also tell his age range. And I see that when he's at home, he spends less time on my network. That means that the network in that particular area is not good. So it gives me network optimization insights as well as the customer behavior insights. So there's really quite a number of advantages to having a big data platform. It allows us to do targeted marketing to you to let you know what you're interested in. It gives, basically data is life. The advantage is numerous. We cannot begin to quantify the advantage that having the data, big data is giving to the telcos.
All right. Thanks for sharing those insights. I remember the early days of Etisalat launching what is called Home Zone. All right. We were strategic to building that entire algorithm for them. I know that in a lot of telecoms company, and I can't mention your names. All right. How in 6 months all of you started then jumping on that train, but it comes to show, and that takes me to the next question, right? So I've built a modern data platform. I now have that platform. It was successful. We've launched it and all of those things, but I need to sustain it. How do you then sustain that success that you had at deployment?
Okay, so before you even get to deployment, the very first thing is what Kazeem said, which is the distributed architecture. The only way you are going to sustain a big data platform is to have a distributed system. So you have to be able to scale horizontally and vertically, meaning that your jobs, your processes have to be replicated across multiple servers. Because if you don't do that, you cannot sustain the amount of volume of data that you're going to come. As we go on and on in the data space, the data volume keeps getting large. MTN is already doing 9 petabytes. So if you want to scale that, you have to keep adding nodes horizontally. You have to have proactive monitoring. You have to have really skilled resources. And those are the differences in how you maintain your big data platform. So I'll give you a practical instance. When we went, our big data environment is completely homegrown for us, everything coded from scratch. And when we went live, one of the key things that made us very successful in our big data platform is we have a self-audit and self-healing system within our big data system. So that makes us very proactive. It means that from when your jobs stop, the system can heal itself to start up a new instance, to when you're running out of memory or when you're running out of CPUs. Everything is self-healing, self-notifications, and you basically, the system is so intelligent that you don't have to do much to maintain it because you've actually done all the various case studies while building the system. So if you go with a distributed architecture and you have a self-audit module inbuilt into it, maintaining the system is very easy. Another thing to make the maintenance very easy is also to watch the trends and make sure that all your systems are up to date. So for instance, if we're using the Cloudera version, you make sure that you have the support and you deploy the latest instances to get the latest technology that is going on in the industry. So basically, in some way, it's basically having a very good architecture from scratch, proactive monitoring, and also to have skilled resources at hand to help you make the changes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I wanted you to enjoy the applause. All right. I think that you mentioned a few things, and I think the next set of the next panel will help dovetail into the issue of skilled resources. It became very important for us to have a dedicated panel to look at that and a few other things around this. Daniel, in terms of building a platform, she's mentioned some critical things, and you just build a modern platform that sits in the cloud today. What were some of your biggest challenges on that journey? I know a lot of people will talk about success, and then when you ask them, they will say it's the grace of God, right? But I believe in the grace of God very well, but there were some real challenges you faced, and what are they, and how did you find your way or navigate that journey? Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Tope. So I will start with people challenge. So there is this mindset that we are coming to take your job. People kept unstructured data on their laptops, kept some various small databases on macros, silos everywhere. And we're telling you today that we want to take, for instance, before now, budgeting is done for every single RM. You get your budget from finance. It's kept and maintained by finance. And we're telling you that we're taking it out to the cloud. So there was this fear of, will I end up not being relevant? So people were trying to sit on what would they have. And there was resistance for them to be able to share information for us to be able to automate. That's number one. Number two, which has been a recurring factor anytime you want to step out in automation. So we need to have information that are both in unstructured databases and even in Excel, flying away everywhere. And we are putting these things together. At some point, it's only when you are trying to test a particular process that somebody wakes up to say, but I cannot find some business, some segments. And you're like, which segments? These segments were kept in his desktop. And he uses it as a way to, anytime he announces results, people clap for him. He's thinking today that the moment we take it away, there will be no more clap. So there is a problem of mindset, people problem, bringing people to understand that the decision is for the good of everybody. Now, these challenges have turned out now to begin to look like successes. But they were challenges, major challenges. Cooperation from the people that already kept data in their various domains, being able to harmonize them and put them into readable and meaningful, reasonable platform where we can make decisions. So today we have your budget on the platform, we have your actual on the platform, we have your performance on the platform, we have your average profitability report on the platform. So initially, people didn't think it was possible, sincerely. So that challenge was, surmounting it was a big deal. But at the end of the day, when you cross over, you seem to forget where you're coming from. But they were indeed very major challenges.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing some of those details, Daniel. And so let's go to back to show. MTN is a massive, massive organization. Recently announced they were going to become a tech company. And obviously, you then ask yourself, well, what critical role will data play in that space? Beyond that, right, and I would just want to ask you another question because I'm looking at time and we don't have so much again. What critical role would be my first question? Will data play on that journey?
All right. Thank you very much, Tope. Look, the Ambition 2025 strategy is something we're very, very deliberate about. I think for a lot of us, Olumide did ask a question about when people first started using the internet. And if you could answer that question, you relate to, back then, the tech companies that came to mind will be the hardware providers. There will be the Dells, there will be the HPs, and with time, other companies started getting to the forefront. But the question is what really happened? And it boils down to the fact that, what determines value in the eyes of the consumer at any point in time, it's not given. Yeah. You have to understand the share of the market and the size in which you're going to play in that market. And that is exactly what has driven us to the Ambition 2025, where we understand right now that the value that we need to start providing for the end user, we need to change it drastically or we get relegated to just a dumb pipe. And that's why we're working on that ambition, where we're looking beyond providing just the basic telco services in which we used to provide, which is just call and data services, just two services. So really we were just like a car plant or a car assembly plant where at the end of the day, only something comes out. It's a car that will come out. The difference will just be in the color of the car or in the speed of the car that will come out. No matter what enhancements you put in your assembly pipeline, no matter what sort of upgrades you put in there will be only one output. It will be a car. But we're changing ourselves to be a mobility where it doesn't matter. We transport you in whatever means you need to be transported to. And that's why we're going into that transformation. Now, there are two things that when you're going into that sort of journey, you need to really consider. One will be security baseline, and then the sort of data. Because you now have to have one customer data, because we're playing across every single space in there. And you need to be able to use this data interoperability, in different dimensions. It needs to be interoperable. Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether that same subscriber, which is one of the problems within the industry today, and I think if we all confess, you see that issue within the industry today where you go in, you buy a SIM today, you use that SIM for your home, you buy another SIM, you use that SIM for your phone, yeah, to make calls. They're two different individuals. If we truly want to succeed in that journey, we need to build a data layer that actually stitches all these things together, irrespective of what you're using that service for. We see you as one. And the only way you can achieve that, you're not going to use traditional data warehouse systems. You need to be able to understand the lifestyle, the persona of that individual, rather than segments around spend and tenure of that particular SIM. So big data plays a critical role in that journey for us to be a technology company come 2025. And we're well advanced in that journey today.
Awesome. All right. Okay, let me come back to Kemi quickly before I go to Kazeem. And there's been a big mention around a number of things, people, around security and the platform, What role, in terms of what will be your considerations if you want to build a data platform, what will be your considerations around regulatory issues?
Okay, so The very first thing is, most important, be NDPR compliant because you don't want your customers' data getting into the wrong hands. You have to follow the regulatory for NDPR, meaning you store your data on site, you have really limited access to people who can get to the physical servers. And then when we go into the data itself, your data should all be properly encoded so that only people with the right level of privilege can access the data. So from our perspective, on a practical sense, we basically apply three security measures. One is that access to the data lake is completely authorized and authenticated, meaning that you can't log in without 2FA. So we have 2FA within our data platform. And also, you only have access to see what you need to see to do your job. You don't have access to everything. So you have to be authorized to access that data. The second thing that we do is we have a lot of encoding and a lot of encryption, so we don't store data in plain sight. And because our platforms are in-house built, our algorithms are not easily available, so you have to have the proper way to decode it. You won't be able to decode the OCR file formats if you do not have the correct decoders. And then the third thing is that we have applied PII, so all personal informations are fully encrypted, mega level of encryption. You will need NASA level servers to kind of break that encryption. So three fundamental things that we have done on our environment is access is very restricted. We have PII settings set up, and we use unique encoders. Then we are also very NDPR compliant. Just in case regulators are in the house, we are NDPR compliant. Thank you.
Just in case they are in here. All right. All right. I'll go back to Daniel and Sho, and maybe I should go to Soyinka first, considering how massive your data platform is. And this, I think that some of these journeys you need a partner to work with, really. How will you select? What are the key things you will look for in working with a partner to work with on that long, tedious journey?
Okay, so before we began the engagement with Bluechip in 2021, we had done 3 failed massive attempts on building a big data warehouse. Okay, it wasn't like they don't have personnel, wasn't like they don't know what they are doing, but they didn't have that track record. They haven't handled it before. So it was like using us as guinea pig and trying to, make up things, and you spend money and time, the projects run forever, and it collapses. So at some point, we just preferred to continue our manual process because it was looking like it's difficult to achieve. We got in with the engagement with Bluechip in 2021, and it looked a bit different. So you have people who are professionals who wake up and look at how do we get results. So the project was not a project of the bank. It was a project of the two organizations. So we had a project manager from Bluechip, we had a project manager from ECOBank, syncing notes at all times. So there was professionalism, there was involvement, there was commitment. So in choosing a partner, there is also need for track record. You cannot have people eat from an empty plate. If you don't have it, you cannot give it. So what was the different thing when partnering with Bluechip? They had done similar activity in different iterations. And what that means is that for any problem, they have an answer. Okay? So that made it easy that this project that we have run severally, today we are live, we are on production, everybody is doing, and while I would not want them to charge me extra, but sincerely speaking, it was good working with them as partners in this journey.
All right. Thank you very much. Our time is up, but I need to touch on these two. And Sho, what will be your perspective about partnerships? What partners should you be working with? What should be looked at, apart from some of the very beautiful things Daniel has said? What are those other things, yeah?
Tope, if you're trying to set me up to say Bluechip, I will not. But look, on a lighter note, I think he's spoken to a lot of those qualities that come in. But I think my advice in terms of people embarking on this journey, and again, the keynote speaker did mention that, the things you need to look into are those 5 Vs, first of all, in terms of your readiness. And then you need to look at avoid vendor lock-in. Yeah? Avoid vendor lock-in. Cost is a major issue in here in terms of, because of the sort of volumes you're going to be dealing with. Because you're not just dealing with structured data, you're dealing with unstructured data. Yeah? So cost is going to be a massive issue in there, which you need to consider. Again, you need to look at open sources, open source tools. Those are key fundamental things for you to actually consider in choosing your partners that will support you, because you're not just going to be dealing with just one partner on the development side. There are different tiers of partners in which you would consider. So you need to look at all these things to actually choose your partner.
Okay, if I'm to say, and Kazeem, very quickly, what would be your final comment in the scheme of all of these things? What would be that one thing that time is up, but I've got to tell people here? What would be that thing?
Okay, thank you, Tope. I've listened to Kemi, Daniel, and the last few comments, around, how do you, choose the right partner, okay? One thing I need to say, and it's very, very important, is that organizations should not look at developing solutions. Now, if you have strong capabilities, you can create different solutions. And, and these capabilities are in different, areas. You should be able to have capability to execute, capability to, innovate, capability to adapt. Now, execution is very, very key, as we all know, okay? Even if you have all your, ideas, you have your plan, if you're not able to execute, very effectively, there'll be a problem. But I think the view of vendor, the way customers or the way organizations look at vendor should also be different, okay? Now, we are all in the same ecosystem where the watchword should start moving towards co-creation. Now, because I've said something around, capability, all right? It doesn't mean that those capabilities must be your own resources, okay? The supply side of the capability might even be on the external side. It doesn't have to be even vendor. It can even be your people in the same industry, all right? That you can share data, and then from your data that you're sharing, you're able to train, better models that, you would have, done if you actually, went alone. So if you actually gone alone. So, it is important that, capability becomes the watchword, and the supply side of that capability should not be ring-fenced just within the borders of the organization. So we should look at different partners, vendor can be brought in, and then, look at, a proper partner, led or value-led, approach, to seeing that, yes, what we have set out, to do, the points of different capabilities, that we're trying to achieve, all right, we're able to, put in all the partners together within the same ecosystem, and then we achieve it. That would definitely address the vendor lock-in that Sho said, and importantly, cost will also get reduced, because you have a partner framework, you have a capability framework that is inherently competitive, all right, and can drive better value for your organization. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So final comments from all the panelists. Sho, in 30 seconds, what will be that thing that is read now saying I must leave here, but I need to tell you guys before I leave here? Your final comment, 30 seconds.
Data is life.
Data is life. Thank you.
Reliability and transparency in data.
All right. Thank you. Sure.
Single source of truth. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. I hope you had a good time.
You're not asking me.
I thought that
And this is why we call you Abidjan.
I thought that was the last final comment. Okay, I would have said that. Please, a big round of applause for all our speakers. Thank you very much.
Please ignore the AI-generated images above them.
We can only take one question. The first man, you were very proactive. Please come. There's a mic there. It's okay. Just introduce yourself. You have 30 seconds. Yes. Your time starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eneh. I'm an educationist. It's about the slide that was shown that showed Bluechip in 8 countries, 9, yeah? Yeah. And then at the end of that slide, I think it was when the co-founder was speaking. At the end of that slide, thank you was shown in a variety of languages. Okay, so what I found a kind of contradiction in that, because if you look at the countries into which Bluechip has taken roots, they are Anglophone. And
they are what?
They are Anglophone countries,
Anglophone,
except for
okay.
maybe DRC and Ethiopia. So I'm a bit concerned about the expansion of Nigerian companies into basically English-speaking countries in Africa. Why is that happening? A country like Côte d'Ivoire should be one of the countries that Bluechip is in. So I want to explain that.
Okay, so your concern is more about their business strategy.
Yeah, okay, I will give you China. China is not English speaking, but China goes into other countries that speak other languages, which is why they are where they are. So if Nigerian companies can go into countries that speak other languages, instead of just focusing on the English speaking area, I think they can expand better and faster. That's my question.
What's the name again?
My name is Eneh Chikodi.
Eneh.
Yeah.
I think it's very, and I think we're in Central Africa, really. Yeah. So we're not only in Anglophone countries. I just came back from Congo, right? So we're in Central Africa, and maybe Kazeem wants to add to it, but we're in Central Africa.
Thank you very much. It's okay. Thank you. A round of applause, please. Please, we'll just one question related to this, please, if you can. Just one question, gentleman over there.
Can we have a female? Because
Is there a female? Yes, there, over there.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Omolola Eze-Ifoma.
What do you do? So sorry.
So I am. Okay. So I'm into data literacy.
Okay.
Data literacy, and so my question is concerning having a central view for monitoring customers. I think Soyinka mentioned that earlier, and saying that we want to have one singular view. I know that in telco today, there are limitations to how many customers that can be registered on SIM-Reg. And so thinking about a person that has about 10 SIMs, for example, and you still want to recognize that person as one customer. So what's the plan? How do you do this in spite of the regulatory that we have today? Thank you.
Thanks very much for that question. Look, I think that's more of a regulatory issue, but I think the regulatory will get to that point when we're there. We're just seeing the introduction of IoTs coming into play right now. So at the moment, a lot of the SIMs that are being bought in the market today are not towards IoT or such devices. They're for personal consumptions. So really, I think their consideration was within that sphere and within that scope. But as we start getting to IoT devices, I'm sure they would look into how to expand that maximum number that has been placed on it currently. But again, just speaking to what you said, today the identifier is on the NIN, and that's why everybody has to register using the NIN. So we stitch together right now using the NIN to understand who those people are, and we try to have just one single customer database. Yeah. And it's to everybody's advantage right now, because you see, even when we try to do loyalty, you might be spending more, but you're only getting rewards on one. We're not accumulating your benefits and rewarding you on your spend, giving you that accumulated spend. But by the time this whole thing is through, everything is aggregated into one, and you can get the required loyalty that you truly do deserve.
Thank you very much for that. A very good question as well. So can we have our co-founders on stage and our keynote speaker? And some housekeeping as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the breakout session will commence soon. Is everyone having a great time? If you're having a great time,